Hello and welcome to PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale history, where we are finally taking a look at San Francisco, the stage I've planned to cover so many times in the past but delayed for various reasons. It's also the stage that's had the most questions over its absence in the series, but today we're looking at the first of our non-character stages, San Francisco, primarily based on sci-fi FPS, Resistance. First, an introduction to Resistance. Released as a launch title for the PS3, Resistance Fall of Man was set in an alternate history where World War II never happened, but instead a greater war broke out. Here's a quick history lesson. In 1909, there was an explosion over Russia which has entered the history books as the Tunguska event. The blast flattened a forest and generated an explosion rivaling an atomic bomb, causing earthquakes that measured a 5 on the Richter scale. Yes, this really happened. Most likely it was a meteor exploding in the upper atmosphere, but this hasn't stopped science fiction writers from coming up with crazy theories over the years since. Resistance is one piece of media that made use of this event, claiming that the Tunguska event brought the Chimera virus to Earth, a virus that infected humans and turned them into alien hybrid creatures. These creatures slowly began to spread across Europe, and it was their arrival in Britain in the 1950s that prompted the beginning of the first game. In Fall of Man, Sergeant Nathan Hale was one of a team of US soldiers sent to provide assistance in taking down the Chimera, and he was the sole survivor of a major assault due to a genetic immunity to the virus. Hale then assisted fellow soldiers and scientists in coming up with ways to fight back, with his immunity proving useful to creating soldiers who could successfully take on the Chimera without infection. By the second Resistance game, the Chimera had made it to the shores of America, and this is where the stage comes in. San Francisco, known for its many hills, the Golden Gate Bridge, earthquakes, car chase movie Bullet, became the site for the first proper mission of Resistance 2. This level happened during the Chimeran invasion of the United States. In this level, Nathan Hale was one of many people holed up in a military bunker when a load of water-based Chimera stormed the base and allowed in ground troops. The level saw you fighting off Chimera as the base was evacuated until eventually you emerged into San Francisco itself, showing just how bad the invasion was.
My God, it is true.
In this part, you came out of a large tunnel to a view of the Bay Bridge surrounded by Chimera ships, launching an attack on the city. This shot was lovingly recreated for PlayStation All-Stars, where Nathan Hale walks into the area and looks up at the bridge and ships in the sky. The ammo indicators on screen are straight from Resistance, with primary and secondary fire indicators available. The gun we see Hale carrying is the Carbine, which is the basic human-made machine gun that acts as the first gun you ever use in the series. We also hear a voice.
Echo team, come in. We're getting you out of there.
And this is one of many quotes on the stage taken directly from the San Francisco chapter.
Echo team, come in. We're getting you out of there.
Here are some other examples.
Be advised, you've got airborne hostiles closing in fast. Be advised, you have airborne hostiles closing in fast. Scramble your team and get the hell out of there. Get the hell out of there.
The area that the stage takes place in isn't actually where Hale emerged in Resistance 2, in fact it's actually a combination of places. Moving down a set of stairs after emerging from the bunker put you in a very similar area to the San Francisco stage layout. The floor pattern was largely identical and the positioning of higher areas and stairs was very similar to the stage. However, no combat happened here, and it's missing the sandbag cover that's in the stage. However, a short while later you fought an onslaught of Chimeran hybrids on a large space, and this area was filled with sandbags just like those seen in the background of PlayStation All-Stars. Another indicator that this area was a likely inspiration is the truck visible on the left-hand side of the stage, which could be found in a similar spot during that firefight. However, the truck didn't really serve much of a purpose in Resistance 2, it was just background decoration. Let's talk about Chimera hybrids a little more, shall we? These were alien soldiers that were originally humans before they got infected by the Chimeran virus and hooked up to the hivemind. The hivemind controlled everything these soldiers did, instructing them to build weapons and giving them military strategies. The design of a Chimeran hybrid was generally humanoid, with a line of 6 glowing gold eyes. They also had cooling towers strapped to their backs due to their higher metabolism and higher body heat, allowing them to adapt to Earth's atmosphere. These were the basic enemies across the series, and they would typically carry a weapon called the Bullseye, which fired large energy balls in quick succession. It was also capable of homing attacks, as its secondary fire allowed it to tag an enemy, making all shots travel to that enemy. Hybrids carrying bullseyes can be seen running around in the background of San Francisco and PlayStation All-Stars, apparently shooting at human soldiers battling to save the city. During the battle with the Chimera, the player could witness aerial battles happening with ships around the bay. Many of these ships could be seen attacking San Francisco itself, and eventually an attack was launched on the military base too, resulting in a large explosion. This part of the level may be the inspiration for the explosion in PlayStation All-Stars caused by either a missile or a Chimera fighter spinning out of control. And that's the Resistance part of the stage, so let's take a look at the music.
Hawkinson's
The Ratchet and Clank series never really had a consistent villain that the duo went up against in every game. The closest they got to a regular nemesis was Dr. Nefarious, introduced in Ratchet and Clank 3. He was a mad scientist who was turned into a robot, leading him to become even more bitter and twisted than he already was. He appeared in various games including Up Your Arsenal and A Crack in Time, and was actually playable in All for One. But no matter what game he appeared in, he had one single goal: to exterminate all organic life. In Ratchet & Clank 3, this goal involved turning every organic life form in the galaxy into robots, aided in part by a Britney Spears-style pop singer. In A Crack in Time, he wished to use the powers of the Great Clock, a device that controlled time for the entire universe, for his, nefarious ends. He was a fearsome villain who horrified everyone who came in contact with him. Oh wait, no, sorry. In reality, he was a large ham of a villain who loved the sound of his own voice, issued threats to organic life forms by calling them squishies, and when angered he would short-circuit and begin playing audio from intergalactic soap operas, requiring his sarcastic, world-weary butler Lawrence to smack him round the head.
I don't have the capacity for love, Janice. I was cursed by a tribe of gypsy ninjas when I was a kid.
I know, Lance. I was in that tribe of gypsy ninjas.
Basically, he was the perfect villain for the Saturday morning cartoon vibe of the Ratchet & Clank universe, which explains his popularity. Certainly more so than other villains such as Chairman Drek or Emperor Tachyon, who do not have the same level of popularity. Dr. Nefarious makes an appearance in San Francisco when he sucks the entire stage into space and begins taunting fighters and attempting to set his devices on them. During boss fights against Dr. Nefarious, he would typically float around on jet boots and fire various energy weapons at Ratchet and Clank. This was true in both Up Your Arsenal and A Crack in Time, and in both cases he could be a pretty tricky character to deal with due to his speed, and due to how powerful his attacks typically were. He would also dart around quite a bit due to how spindly he was, making it pretty difficult to hit him. He repeats a lot of these movements in San Francisco, where he darts about laughing and yelling taunts. He doesn't fire his energy weapons, however. He lets loose something else.
Say hello to...
Not the hypersonic brainwave scrambler.
the Hypersonic Brainwave Scrambler!
The Hypersonic Brainwave Scrambler was a quirky little device that emitted deadly sonic waves. It appeared at the beginning of A Crack in Time, where Dr. Nefarious decided to take revenge on the Sony, who ran the Great Clock, but in the process the Hypersonic Brainwave Scrambler went haywire and started destroying the clock, and much of the early levels of the game featured Clank trying to avoid its effects. Clank later took on the Hypersonic Brainwave Scrambler in a one-on-one battle, making use of his newfound time manipulation ability to slow it down and smash it to pieces.
One hypersonic brainwave scrambler scrambled.
In PlayStation All-Stars it's a little different. This time its sonic waves more closely resemble Clank's time bombs and even have a similar effect of freezing whoever is trapped inside them. This was probably done to give the Brainwave Scrambler a more unique effect than simply causing damage like the original model did. While all of this is going on, a huge space station could be seen in the background. This is the Nefarious space station. This featured in A Crack in Time towards the end of the game when Ratchet and Clank faced off against Nefarious. It was a space station shaped like the villain's head, heavily armed, capable of firing lasers and blasting asteroids that threatened it. It also featured a large ring around the outside that acted as a landing dock for Nefarious' ships. This appears in PlayStation All-Stars as well, but it's largely just background decoration and doesn't affect gameplay in any way. Oh, and one final note. Both Resistance and Ratchet & Clank were made by the same developer, Insomniac Games. Although never officially part of Sony Computer Entertainment, they have worked on various projects for Sony over the years, starting with the Doom clone Disruptor, then working on the original Spyro the Dragon trilogy, and of course Ratchet & Clank and Resistance. Originally they had a logo which was just a highly stylized version of their name, but with the introduction of Ratchet & Clank they changed their logo to reflect their space age project by redesigning the logo around a moon image, which also works well with their name. So with Resistance and Ratchet & Clank meeting in San Francisco and PlayStation All-Stars, it needs to be pointed out that when the stage moves into space, a moon is visible in the background. This moon is the Insomniac logo, clearly added as a nod to the fact that they originally developed both franchises in the stage, which is a pretty nice inclusion. So that's San Francisco. I hope you mark a space in your diary because the next video is coming soon. Stay tuned.